Have you ever reached a point in your life where you suddenly look around and realize that you are no longer the person you used to be? The things that once made you happy no longer feel the same. The people you once desperately wanted to keep in your life may no longer feel aligned with your heart. The dreams you once chased may suddenly seem empty, and even though nothing appears to be completely wrong from the outside, something deep within you feels different. Maybe you have been spending more time alone. Maybe you have become quieter. Maybe you no longer feel the need to explain yourself, prove your worth, or convince people to understand you. And perhaps, secretly, you have been wondering, what is happening to me? If you have been feeling this way, do not be afraid. You may not be losing yourself. You may finally be finding yourself. There comes a moment in the spiritual journey when the old version of you begins to disappear. The identity built from fear, approval, expectations, and painful experiences slowly starts falling away. It can feel like loneliness. It can feel like confusion. Sometimes, it can even feel like your entire life is being turned upside down. But what if this transformation is not a punishment? What if it is preparation? What if the silence you are experiencing is creating space for something greater to emerge? Yogananda's deeper spiritual vision reminds us that beneath the restless mind, beneath the personality, beneath the roles we play in this world, there is a deeper consciousness waiting to be discovered. And perhaps this strange season of your life is not asking you to become someone else. Perhaps it is inviting you to finally become who you were always meant to be. So, if your heart has been changing lately, stay with me, because what feels like the end of your old life may actually be the beginning of your awakening. There is a hidden problem that many people carry without even realizing it. For years, you may have been trying to become the person that everyone else wanted you to be. You learned what your family expected from you, what society called successful, what your friends admired, and what kind of behavior would earn you love and approval. Slowly, without noticing, you began building an identity around other people's expectations. You became the strong one, the responsible one, the person who always says yes, the person who hides their pain so nobody else feels uncomfortable. And perhaps everyone around you thinks you are doing perfectly fine. But deep inside, there is a quiet voice asking, is this really who I am? Maybe you have achieved something you worked incredibly hard for, yet the happiness disappeared quickly. Maybe you received someone's approval, but it still did not make you feel worthy. Maybe you entered a relationship hoping another person would complete you, only to discover that even love cannot replace the connection you have with yourself. This is one of the deepest struggles of human life. We spend so much time trying to be accepted by the world that we forget to listen to our own soul. But eventually, something inside begins to awaken. You start questioning old beliefs. You start noticing what truly brings you peace and what quietly drains your energy. And for the first time, you begin asking a powerful question: who am I beneath everything I was taught to become? Why does this transformation happen? Why do you suddenly feel different, even when nothing around you seems to have changed? Because there comes a time when your consciousness begins to grow beyond the identity you have carried for years. Think of a seed buried quietly beneath the earth. Before it becomes a tree, the seed must break open. From the outside, it may look like something is being destroyed, but from within, something new is beginning to live. Your spiritual transformation can happen in the same way. Old desires may suddenly lose their attraction. Habits that once felt normal may begin to make you uncomfortable. Certain conversations may no longer interest you, and some relationships may reveal lessons you were not ready to see before. You may begin craving silence, simplicity, and deeper meaning instead of constant attention and approval. This can feel frightening because the ego wants what is familiar. It asks you to return to the person you used to be. But the soul quietly asks you to move forward. The ego wants control, while the soul seeks understanding. The ego says, hold on to what you know, while the awakened heart says, trust what you are becoming. Yogananda's spiritual teachings point toward the idea that our deepest identity is not limited to the body, personality, achievements, or opinions of others. There is a deeper consciousness within you, capable of peace, love, stillness, and spiritual awareness. And when you begin turning inward, you slowly discover something beautiful. Peace is not something you need to chase outside yourself. It is something you gradually uncover within. Now let us go deeper, because there is another reason why certain experiences seem to repeat themselves in your life. You may sometimes wonder why you keep meeting the same kind of people, facing the same emotional struggles, or making the same choices even when you promised yourself that things would be different this time. Spiritual wisdom often describes this through the idea of karma. Karma does not have to be understood as punishment or reward. It can also be understood as the continuation of causes, choices, thoughts, and inner patterns. Every repeated thought leaves an impression within the mind. Every repeated action strengthens a habit. And every emotional reaction, when repeated again and again, can become a pattern that quietly shapes your life. Imagine someone who constantly believes, "I am not good enough." Without realizing it, they may choose relationships where they have to constantly prove their value. Someone who fears being abandoned may continue seeking reassurance from people who cannot give them peace. Someone who feels the need to control everything may struggle whenever life becomes uncertain. The outer circumstances may change, but the inner pattern continues. This is why awareness is so powerful. The moment you become conscious of a pattern, you create space between yourself and that pattern. You can pause before reacting. You can choose differently. You can respond with wisdom instead of fear. Perhaps destiny brings certain lessons to your door, but your consciousness determines how you receive them. A difficult relationship may teach you boundaries. Rejection may teach you self-respect. Failure may teach you humility. And what you once called a curse may eventually become the experience that helped you awaken. So how do you know that you are truly changing from within? How do you know that you are becoming the person you were meant to be? There are certain quiet signs that often appear when your consciousness begins to mature. First, you may stop feeling the need to explain yourself to everyone. You realize that not every person needs to understand your journey, and being misunderstood no longer frightens you as much as it once did. Second, you become more careful about where you give your energy. You begin to understand that kindness does not mean allowing everyone to cross your boundaries. You can love someone deeply and still choose distance when the relationship is hurting your peace. Third, you may begin enjoying silence. Time alone no longer feels like emptiness. You start using those quiet moments to reflect, breathe, pray, meditate, or simply listen to what is happening inside you. Fourth, you stop chasing everything that keeps running away from you. Instead of desperately holding on to people, opportunities, or situations, you begin accepting that some things are meant to leave. And finally, your definition of success begins to change. Maybe once you believed success meant money, recognition, possessions, or status. But now you may find yourself asking deeper questions. Can I remain peaceful when life becomes difficult? Can I love without losing myself? Can I forgive without carrying resentment? Can I remain connected to something greater than my ego? If these questions are becoming important to you, understand this: your life may not be falling apart. You may simply be growing beyond the person you once were. But awakening does not mean that you will never experience pain. It means that you learn how to meet pain with greater awareness. When something hurts you, instead of immediately asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What is this experience trying to teach me?" That simple question can change the way you see your entire life. If someone rejects you, do not immediately believe that you are worthless. Their decision does not determine your value. Perhaps the experience is teaching you to stop seeking your worth through another person's approval. If someone walks away from your life, allow yourself to feel the sadness, but do not destroy your peace trying to make someone stay. Sometimes letting go is not giving up. Sometimes it is an act of self-respect. And when you fail, do not turn one failure into an identity. You made a mistake, but you are not your mistake. You experienced rejection, but you are not rejection. You went through a difficult chapter, but that chapter is not your entire story. When your mind becomes restless, return to simple things. Sit quietly for a few minutes. Watch your breathing. Pray with sincerity. Meditate. Spend time in nature. Before reacting to a painful situation, pause and take one slow breath. Give yourself enough space to respond instead of reacting from fear. Remember, healing does not mean becoming someone who never gets hurt. Healing means becoming someone who no longer allows every wound to control their identity. The more conscious you become, the more peacefully you can choose your next step. Now we come to the deepest lesson of this entire journey. Perhaps becoming who you were meant to be does not mean becoming more impressive, more powerful, or more admired by the world. Perhaps it means becoming more real. The world may teach you to become louder, but the soul teaches you to become deeper. The world may tell you to collect more, achieve more, and prove yourself, while spiritual wisdom quietly asks you to become more conscious. For many years, you may have asked life, "What can I get?" But awakening slowly changes the question into, "What can I become?" This is where your transformation becomes profound. You begin to understand that every experience can carry a lesson. Joy can teach gratitude. Loss can teach surrender. Failure can teach humility. Difficult relationships can reveal your attachments and weaknesses. Loneliness can teach you how to become comfortable with your own presence. Even the moments that broke your heart may eventually become the moments that opened your eyes. One day, you may look back at the person you used to be and finally understand why certain things had to change. The endings were not always punishments. Some were making space. Some beliefs had to fall away. Some attachments had to loosen. Some illusions had to disappear. Not because life wanted to take everything from you, but because you were being invited to discover something deeper within yourself. You are not here simply to build an impressive life. You are here to awaken through the life you have been given. And perhaps the greatest transformation happens when you stop trying to become someone worthy of love, and finally realize that your deepest journey is to remember the divine presence already living within you. And now, as we come to the end of this journey, take a moment and become completely still. Think about everything you have been experiencing lately. Perhaps you have been changing in ways you cannot fully explain. Perhaps certain people are leaving your life, certain desires are becoming weaker, and your heart is asking for more peace, more truth, and more meaning. Do not be afraid of this transformation. Sometimes the version of you that is disappearing is simply the version that was built from fear, insecurity, expectations, and the need for approval. You are not losing yourself. You are returning to yourself. So, if this message reached something deep within you, take a moment and ask yourself, what part of my old self am I ready to release? Maybe it is fear. Maybe it is self-doubt. Maybe it is the need to please everyone. Maybe it is an old relationship, an old belief, or simply the habit of thinking that you are not enough. And if you feel comfortable, share your answer in the comments. You can simply write, "I am becoming who I was meant to be," or tell us what you are choosing to release from your life. Your words may be exactly what another person needs to read today. If this video brought you peace or gave you a new perspective, gently support this channel by subscribing and sharing this message with someone who may be going through their own period of transformation. And before you leave, I would love to hear from you. What would you like us to explore in the next video? Is there a teaching of Yogananda, a spiritual mystery, a lesson about karma, meditation, awakening, healing, or the soul that you would like to hear about? Write your topic in the comments, because your suggestion may become our next journey together. Until we meet again, protect your peace, trust your inner journey, and remember that you are never walking alone. May your mind become calm, your heart become fearless, and your soul become awake. Keep seeking, keep growing, and keep remembering who you truly are. Jai Guru Dev.